on my own. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames won't burn us.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm doing What If Deku Was the Ghost Rider, Part 1. This is actually a surprise collab. I didn't come out publicly with this because it kind of came out of the blue for me, because before, when I did my original, collab with GGTB, I wanted to do this What If, but he decided to do the other one, so I went with it. So I never actually got the chance to make this. And, I just decided because, this person is a new What If YouTuber, and his What Ifs are pretty good. There's some problems that I have with them, but I'm sure there's problems you guys have with my videos. So, let me go ahead and introduce him. It is MGZ. I'm just gonna call him Morgs, if that's alright. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to roast everyone I do a collab with, so. This is Morgs45C. His what ifs are really good. I love his what if Deku had Godzilla's powers. What if it is really good, and I actually plan on doing a my own version of this. So I do recommend you guys go over to his channel, because he will be doing part 2 to this video. So make sure, if you guys want part 2, to go over to his channel, click the subscribe button, and while you're at it, Detroit, smash the bell icon on his channel to be notified when he posts a new video. I'm actually really excited for him to do part 5 to What If Deku Had Godzilla's Powers. He's already basically through the series, so that'll probably be the last one, but so yeah. And he had to get a smaller smash, because on to the sponsor for today's video. Me. If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And while you're at it, United States of smash the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. So yeah, now that that is out of the way, I hope you guys do enjoy this collab. And make sure you go subscribe to him, because he needs it. He's a small YouTube channel, and he needs all the love he can get. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and get on with this. So, we're going to start with Deku's mom, because I need to get this out of the way. So, Deku's mom is a pro hero, and I'm going to say she's one of All Might's biggest fans. Because she literally acts just like him when she does hero work. Because she thinks by the same morals as All Might. She believes everyone should be saved with a smile. She believes that there needs to be a symbol. There needs to be peace in order for there to be justice. And she believes that everyone deserves justice. So, she would just go out and do small things to, help people. Like, she'd get, cats out of the tree when the fire department wouldn't come. She would save baby squirrels, save baby birds. Whenever anything needed help, she would help. And I'm going to say her quirk was basically, she gives anyone that's around her she can kind of choose who she gives it to, but if she doesn't choose, then everyone around her will get a strength, speed, and agility boost. So that's her quirk. And if she wants, she can give herself a boost, but that's kind of it. So, yeah. I'm gonna get a drink real quick. Ugh, still mozzarella cheese. Yuck. Sorry, I had Alfredo for dinner. Yeah. And this is the same water bottle or water I drank. So it tastes like mozzarella cheese. Yeah, it doesn't taste really good. So yeah. Back to the what if. So Deku is born and Inko immediately shifts her entire life's goal from saving people to caring for Deku. I mean, if Deku even made the slightest bit of noise to set her off, she would rush to Deku's room and to make sure he was okay. You guys would wish that your mom was as caring as her, because if there was even a rumble of lightning, she would rush to Deku's room and sleep right next to him to make sure he wasn't scared. Even if the lightning stopped right after, she would make sure that he got to sleep. And when Deku's dad was out working, she would stay right next to him, watching him the entire time. Several times she got reprimanded for not doing hero work because she would constantly be watching Deku. So when Deku's 4 years old, Inko, for the first time, gets called to a armed bank robbery. And this is a serious one because this is one of the most high valued banks in all of Japan. So she rushes to get there, and Deku's just kind of sitting, and she pulled over a chair to sit by the door and wait for her to get home, and he waited and waited and waited and waited. He waited for almost a whole day. Actually, no, for like 2 days. Till Deku's dad got home. He immediately searched the entire house for Inko. He called her almost 20 times. Till eventually a police officer, alongside All Might, arrived. They said that she had died. The robber attacked her when she tried to rush in to save a child that was being threatened. Her heart was pulled right out of her chest. And then her body was decayed by a child. Deku's entire world fell apart at that very moment. And by that moment, Deku's dad had lost his job, and that's why he came home early. He had lost his job because he wasn't able to pay attention because he was watching the news, because he knew Inko was there. So he wouldn't stop watching the news to make sure that everything was under control. So he lost his job, and because Inko wasn't working that often, they had no money. They were immediately kicked out of their house, and Deku's world was just crushed. When he got in the car, he asked his father where they were going, and he said, "Somewhere where we can get somewhere to sleep, son." Deku just would, from that day on, he would always have one small tear always running down his face. Until he was 6 years old, or until he was 5 years old, he would always have at least one tear running down his face every time you looked at him. So eventually they come across a motel, and they pull up, and the dad goes to this bar that was inside, gets a key for a room, and sits down. He asks the waiter for a couple cold ones, and while he's waiting, he hears a conversation. I don't want to do this, man. That is the riskiest jump on Earth. I am not doing it. Do you understand? You can have your $5,000. I don't care. My back would be snapped in half like a twig, my head would be chopped off, and my body would be burnt to a crisp if I even tried to jump over that thing. You have to, you can't leave. We need you. Our carnival would not be able to run without this stunt. This is what's going to make us the big bucks. What, do you want $6,000, $7,000, $9,000? And then Deku's dad walks up to them and asks what's going on. The guy says, this guy wants me to jump the world's riskiest thing in the world for like $9,000. And then Deku's dad says, $9,000. And he looks at the carnival host, and he says, yes, $9,000. I'll pay $9,000 for someone to jump that. For one time. I don't care. One time, I'll pay you $9,000. And then Deku's dad says, how risky is it? And then the other guy says, you won't survive risky. Here's your money back. I don't care. Hire this guy for all I care. And he walks out and is about to get on the motorcycle when Deku's dad stops him and says, I'm gonna need your motorcycle, man. We're in a tough time. And he punches the guy, knocking him out. Deku was just still so, dead inside. He didn't even notice his father knock someone out. So the carnival host is like, alright then, I'm gonna need you to sign right here. Deku's dad says, alright. As long as whatever happens, my son is alright. He grabs the pen and signs his name down. And the carnival host says, yes, alright. But at this address by 9 a.m. Got that? Alright. I'll see you later. As the carnival host gets in a limo. And when the door opens, you see two almost half naked women in there. Deku's dad is immediately hit with, this isn't good. But he decides that because they're in such a rough time, he needs this money. But one thing that he did notice before the door closed is that they both had collars on that almost looked like shock collars. As the door closes and the limo drives off. So Deku's dad gets up doesn't get up. He walks over to the car and gets Deku out. And tells Deku that they're staying here for the night. Oh, I'm done drinking with this water. Ugh. Tastes disgusting. Alright, like I said. So, they go inside and Deku asks, you'll be here forever, right? Deku's dad says, Deku's like, what do you mean, yes? And Deku's like, alright, I love you. And then Deku's dad says, I love you too. As they both go to sleep. Deku's dad wakes up and immediately gets Deku dressed. It's 8:30 right now. They get in the car and drive as they break down right outside of the carnival. Deku's dad is like, oh crap, I don't have time for this. As he gets out of the car, goes over to Deku's side, gets Deku out, and runs inside the carnival. The carnival host is just sitting there looking at his watch as he sees Deku's dad full sprinting over there. Deku's dad gets there in the nick of time, and the host is like, alright, you're gonna need to get this on and hurry. It's about to start. So Deku's dad gets the jumpsuit on, and gets on the motorcycle, and drives over to his designated point. He looks at the jump and feels his heart sink. It's almost a football, or half of a football field of piranha pools with turbines on top of them, with several fire loops and 2 logs that'll swing by. Deku's dad wonders if he'll make it out of this, and he starts to pray. As he smells something in the air. He doesn't know what it is, but he just smells something. But he ignores it and he revs his engine and drives off the ramp. He gets about halfway, and then he makes it. The carnival host is honestly surprised that he actually made it, because he thought he was going to have a lawsuit on his hands. But he actually made it. The dang carnival host immediately runs up to Deku's dad and starts shaking him and says, "You made it! You made it! Oh my gosh, you made it! Here's your $9,000. Do you want to jump some more?" And Deku's dad says, "Yeah, if it's that easy." So from that point on, Deku's dad would be constantly doing these stunts and stunts and stunts, till eventually Deku is old enough to do a stunt. It's not too risky. It's not risky at all. Maybe a skinned knee or something, but it's still good enough to watch because Deku's 10 years old. So Deku starts to do stunts with his father till he gets up to... Actually, no, he's not 10. He's 8. No, 7. No, 8. No, 9. Yes, he's 9. Yes, he's 9. Why am I saying it like that? I don't know. Okay, back to the what if. So, when Deku's 9 years old, he starts doing stunts with his father. So, when he hits 10, he starts to work on his bike. And then one day, he's comes in after working on his bike and he sees papers. It says that it's a letter, actually. It says, "I'm sorry, Johnny, but we unfortunately can't cure your cancer. I'm afraid, has gotten too bad. And also the fact that you can't do chemo. I'm sorry, sir, but you probably only have a couple days left. We really are sorry here at St. John's. Have a good life." Deku immediately feels the hole that was slowly being filled in after his mom died become bigger and bigger till there is no heart left. Deku runs out of the house and gets back to working on his motorcycle with both eyes having tears constantly rolling down his face. Till he hears something peculiar. What? Okay, peculiar. Yeah, there we go. He hears a light bulb, like almost as if a light bulb popped. And then another one, then another one. And he looks outside to see the lights going out, and it's starting to thunder really bad outside. Deku wonders if he should go back home, but Deku thinks that he's way too stressed to sleep right now. So he keeps working on his bike. As a man walks in, Deku asks what he's doing here and that the place is closed. Or no, the carnival is closed. And the man says, "I'm not here for the carnival." How would you react if I said I could cure your father's cancer? As he slowly walks around Deku. Deku wonders what this man is talking about and asks who he is. And the man says, "I've been called many things. But that is not important. So, do you want your father's cancer to be cured? While he still has time." Deku asks how this could be done, and the man says, "That is not important. Tell me one last time, do you want him cured?" And Deku says, "Yes, I want him cured. I've had enough grief. I need my father." And the man smiles a large grin and says, "Good, Anakin, good." I'm sorry. He says good. As he walks up to Deku, pulls a construction sheet paper roll out. And he rolls it out and gives it to Deku and says, "Sign this." And Deku says, "What's the catch?" And the man says, As he looks around, and he says, "Your soul." And he smiles a large grin again. Deku thinks about this for a moment as he's, looking at the paper as he cuts himself, and a drop of blood drops right on where he would have signed. As the man quickly grabs the paper and says, "That'll be good. Well, when you wake up, your father's cancer will be cured. But one thing, when I need you, I will call upon you." And he walks out. And Deku wakes up. He looks around to see his father tap dancing. He walks up to him and says, "Dad?" As I'm going to say that Deku's dad's name is Johnny. Because that was, it wasn't the father's name in Ghost Rider, but it was the kid's name in Ghost Rider. So I'm just going to use that name. So Johnny says, "Son, I have to tell you something." And he sits Deku down. And he sits down himself. And he says, "I've been sick for a long time. And I was on my deathbed. And when I went to visit him this morning, he said that it had cleared up completely. So, I'm excited to say that I'm getting back to doing these stunts with you. Deku smiles the largest grin, almost forgetting about the man he met last night. So, Johnny says, I even got a stunt today, so I hope you're there to watch me. So, he gets ready, and when he jumps the stunt, he crashes, hitting his head on the railing where the flames were, giving himself third-degree burns. And then he breaks his neck and back, killing him. Deku turns around to see the man. As it finally sets in, his father's dead. He runs up there to his dad, and his dad's final words were, "Goodbye, son," as he dies. Deku bursts into tears as he realizes he made the wrong kind of deal. Deku, because he has nowhere to go, stays with the carnival host. But he has one strict rule: never go into his room. So, one day Deku wakes up and he heads into the bathroom, and his hands are glowing red. He tries to wash it off, but he can't seem to get it off. As his hands start to let off smoke and steam, till his hands burst into flames, Deku starts to scream as he feels his skin falling off, and he just feels like his head was just like pushed straight into lava, and it's being held there. As Deku touches his cheek to feel his muscle, Deku screams in agony as he can feel his entire body starting to just burn and burn and burn, till Deku, what it feels like, passes out. But in reality, his entire body has been turned into bone, and his head is on fire. So Deku walks out of his house to where his bike was, grabs the chains off the railing, and starts to walk. He eventually gets to the headmaster's room, aka the carnival host. Or master, carnival master, host, whatever you guys want to call him. He opens the door to see the man yelling at the girl, at a half-naked girl, saying, "You're useless!" And he's whipping her with a whip. The other girl tries to stop him, but he stabs her and pushes her to the ground and says, "You'll die a slow, painful death," and starts whipping the other girl and whipping her. The other girl tries to crawl to Deku, but the guy grabs a controller off of it and activates it. The girl gets electrocuted to death. Deku seeing all this, and then the headmaster, or the carnival master, says, "What are you doing in here? I said you weren't allowed to come in here." And then Deku says, "You're guilty of the highest sin, murder." As he walks up to him, he grabs him and lifts him up in the air and says, "Look into my eyes." As Deku uses penance stare, the guy looks into his eyes and immediately starts screaming in pain as the girl is whipping him and stabbing him and electrocuting him. and all of the other people who once worked for him, like the hairy girl, is strangling him, and he, as his eyes slowly turn to what looks like magma, Deku drops him and wraps him up in his chains as he throws him off the balcony, holding him with one arm. And then he drops him. The chains let go of him, and he falls to his death. As Deku walks out, Deku touches his bike, and it turns into a weirder looking bike, or like a death bike. He gets on it and drives out of the carnival as the police arrive. Deku finally arrives in the nearest city, where he's seeing crime, and more crime. Deku just feels his non-existent skin boiling, till he comes across one alley where a girl is being threatened by 3 guys. One has a knife, and the other 2 have their quirks to use. Deku walks into the alley as one of the guys sees him and says, "Hey, stay out of here. You got that? Unless you want to end up like the girl." Or unless you want to, quadruple gang her. Because we're going to have some fun with her. Deku grabs him by the throat. As Deku starts heating up his hand, the guy feels the heat. He starts to scream as the other 2 guys notice. The guy slits the girl's throat as she drops to the ground, gasping for air. Deku bursts the guy's head into flames. As he screams in agony, Deku throws him to a wall and then kicks him through it. Deku looks at the other guy, who has kind of like a Kirishima-like quirk, plus, the rock guy from the X-Men 4, or he's part of the team where there's, the Elastic guy, Flame guy, and then the blue girl. He's on that team. He's kind of like a mix of those. So he hardens his hand into a bit like a big boulder-like hand and tries to punch Deku, but Deku grabs it and slowly starts to melt it. As the guy screams and says, "What are you?" And Deku says, "Your worst nightmare." As he breaks the guy's hand and pins him to the wall and punches him, knocking him out. The other guy sees this and tries to stab him, but Deku quickly grabs it and breaks his arm and spins him around and grabs him by the shoulder and says, "Look me in my eyes, and you will relive the pain that you're guilty of." As the guy says slowly, "What are you?" As he breaks into an agonizing scream as his eyes turn to magma, and he relives the pain and torture all of his victims went through. He slowly slides down the wall that he was pinned to, reliving the events in an endless cycle. Deku gets on the bike and drives off. And when it hits morning, he eventually comes across a grave and drops off of his bike and starts crawling as he eventually comes across a Inko Midoriya grave. As the guy says, "Welcome, bonehead," and Deku passes out. Eventually, he wakes up in a little room, almost like a church bedroom. The decorated glass window. But right next to him are 6 cups of water. Deku is so thirsty, he starts drinking and drinking and drinking till all 6 cups are gone. Deku walks out of the room, looking around, till he sees the man next to a grave. Deku asks what happened last night, and the guy says, "It wasn't a dream. It was all reality. And yes, your bike looks normal." Deku says, "That wasn't a question I was going to ask." And then the guy says, "That's a question I would have asked." Deku asks what was he and what he did as he slowly remembers. He tells the guy how he killed a carnival master because he enslaved 2 girls and murdered one of them. And then when he was driving into the city, he came across a little place where 3 guys were robbing and messing with a girl. One of the guys attempted to attack him, or in his eyes, attack. He broke the guys. Actually, no, he exploded his head into flames. The guy says, "Well, you'll turn back into that at night. Just know that. And if you want to use it during the day, stay in the shadows. That's all I can tell you." Deku asks if he put a hood on, would he be able to use it without being in the shadows? And the guy says, "I don't know. Maybe." So Deku goes back inside and takes off his jacket and stitches a little leather hood onto it with spikes that went down his spine. Deku asked the man where his spike was, and he told him it was in a little shed. So Deku went and got his bike and tried to drive to where his house was. Then he remembered a spot, a old shortcut his mom would take him through. So he drives to the shortcut, and when he's going under a bridge, a villain attacks him. Immediately, Deku puts his hood up and tries to turn into the thing. And it works. Deku immediately bursts into flames, his skin and muscle and tissue gone. Only Ghost Rider. The sludge villain tries to grapple onto him, but he quickly dodges and grabs the chain off his bike and tries to lasso the sludge villain. And of course, it didn't work. Then he tries spinning the thing really quickly to try and blow the sludge villain away. And it sort of works. It blows certain chunks off of him. And the sludge villain's like, "What the? Oh, that burns, you stupid brat!" And he grabs the chain and tries to take it away from him, but it burns his, sludge hand, and he quickly lets go of it. Deku pulls it back and wraps it back around his shoulder or waist. Deku quickly rushes at the sludge villain and then he feels it. Deku quickly backs off as he sees a person's head pop out of the sludge, and the sludge villain says, "Oh, sorry about that," as the sludge villain pulls it out of him and throws it away. "That was my earlier host, but you're my new one." Deku says, You, how did you escape hell? Because you are guilty of so many things. So many things that you are to be tried for. As Deku puts his foot down and roars as he says, "You're guilty of the highest sin imaginable. Murder! Several accounts of murder, more murder, theft. Every sin imaginable you have committed. And now I am to bring you back to where thee came from." As Deku rushes at the sludge villain says, "This'll be an easy capture." As he grapples onto Deku and says, "Well, you're mine now, kid." As Deku looks up, the sludge villain realizes that he's intensifying his heat. And the sludge villain's like, that burns! Crap you, kid!" And then Deku says, "Eat this. Look into my eyes, and you shall see what you are to be." As the sludge villain finds himself being drawn into Deku's eyes. No, there are no eyes, only death. As the sludge villain's eyes start to turn to magma, as he starts to scream in agony and he lets go of Deku. He starts screaming in agony as he goes back to when he was an actual human, before his quirk went wild. His daughter runs up to him and says, Daddy, look what I made!" And she shows a little macaroni art as her mother walks up and hugs the sludge villain. The sludge villain says, "This isn't real." And then it skips to when the sludge villain devoured his own family and their house burning down. Then it skips to a lady he robbed and then murdered. Then it skips to a person he robbed. Then it skips to a car he stole. And then it skips to him having an affair with a woman he wasn't married to. Then it skips to another murder. Then it skips to another murder till he comes across the lady he took over. Her screams in agony as she loses all of her oxygen and dies. He keeps living that endless cycle. He screams and screams as All Might arrives. All Might, confused on which is the villain, he just targets the one that he went after earlier. As Deku pulls his hood down and he transforms back into a regular human, All Might says, "Detroit Smash!" knocking the villain out. But his cycle is still going, even when he's out cold. All Might scoops him up in a container, or in a little bottle. Deku asks before he leaves, "Can I be a hero without a quirk?" And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be where I leave it off. I kind of made it a little bit too long, but I hope you guys enjoyed either way. So yeah, make sure you guys go and check out MGZ 45C or Morgs 45C to go and watch part 2 when he has it up. So make sure you guys are subscribed to him and have post notifications on, so you know when he posts part 2. And also, make sure you guys like the video if you enjoyed, and also subscribe. And while you're at it, United States of Smash! The bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. So yeah.